Hello students, today we shall discuss on powder metallurgy, its history, steps in powder metallurgy, advantages, powder production techniques, compacting, sintering and applications. Powder metallurgy has been defined as the art and science of producing metal powders and making semi-finished and finished objects from individual mixed or alloyed powders with or without the addition of non-metallic constituents. Production of powder metallurgy parts involve mixing of elemental or alloy powders with additives and lubricants, compacting the mixture in a suitable die and heating the resulting green compact in a controlled atmosphere furnace so as to bond the particles metallurgically. The resulting parts are solid bodies of material with sufficient strength and density for use in diverse fields of applications. Highly porous parts, precise high performance components and composite materials can be produced by powder metallurgy route. Powder metallurgy offers compositional flexibility, minimized segregation and the ability to produce graded microstructures with varying physical and mechanical properties. Powder metallurgy also offers advantages over ingot metallurgy in terms of quality, cost, precision, productivity, as well as by its ability to conserve critical raw material through a high level of material utilization. The historical background of the powder metallurgy. The development of civilization is closely connected to discovery of metal. The first metal known by the prehistoric man were found in natural state. They were soft and pliable and could be shaped into many forms and had a low melting point. Copper was probably the first. 13,000 years BC, they were already using primitive tools and weapons made of copper. Around about 3000 years BC, the Egyptians built canals and pipes made of copper. 1000 years after they learned how to merge it with tin creating bronze, also gold and silver were known metals used thousands of years ago. Metals with a high melting point such as iron entered the scene at around 7000 years before the furnaces capable of reaching temperatures close to their melting point were available. Now this implies that objects made of iron were built using powder metallurgy, which was introduced by the Egyptians around 5000 years ago. Now the oxidized iron was heated in the coal fire's atmosphere and thereafter the resulting porous metallic iron was hammered into the desired shape. This method was used around 1600 years ago. With this approach, statues and columns weighing more than 6 tons were built, such as the Pillar of Delhi. In the 19th century, fast development followed by fast disuse of the powder metallurgy. The method of hot pressing platinum was developed in the 1800s. The pressing of platinum powder heated in a clay melting pot. In 1882, a variant of this process was prepared with bars weighing more than 15 kg. In 1830, copper bars were prepared by pressing and sintering powders obtained by the reduction of oxidized copper. Then in the mid-19th century, melting furnaces, whose prototypes were developed about 200 years ago, improved so much that they led the metalworking industry towards smelting techniques, and powder metallurgy was almost completely abandoned. Now in 1850, carbon steel was the best material for creating tools, but the tool life was very short and the execution was irregular. Reliable thermal treatments had not yet been developed and any method capable of improving the tool was considered a secret of the user. Dark Hill Ironworks factory ruins. So in 1860, Robert Mouchet developed an alloy which contained tungsten. This was the first type of a fortified steel, and its introduction in the industry allowed double cutting speeds of cast iron. In the 1900s, the heat treatment of this steel containing in addition to tungsten was further improved, and the industry could use a steel capable of working at high speeds. Chippings were blue and the tool turned red due to the heat produced during the work. Now in 1915, stellite and tantalum fused alloys were introduced, mainly consisting of the cobalt, chromium and tungsten. These alloys were as hard as steel, maintaining their hardness in heat and greatly increasing the life cycle of the tool at speeds of up to 50% higher than before. It's the era of cemented carbides, and it is interesting to see how this metal revolutionized the industry of processing plastic and made the mass production that we know of today possible. In 1879, Thomas Edison built the incandescent light bulb using carbon strands made with the Japanese bamboo. He confirmed that tungsten strand would have improved properties, but at that time only chemical tungsten powder was available. In the early 20th century, the great French physicist H. Moissan built the first electric arc furnace in order to melt tungsten, but carbon electrodes reacted with the tungsten to form the tungsten carbide, and Moissan considered the experiment failed. However, using the same method, he prepared carbides of all refractory materials and studied their physical and chemical properties. His research was so complete that even today very little had been added to the knowledge of these materials. Carbon has the highest melting point among all the elements, and tungsten the second highest. The only possible oven capable of melting the tungsten is the coal oven. But since the two elements react with one another to form carbide, it appears that it is impossible to melt tungsten in an oven. This limitation led to the revival of powder metallurgy, and progress was stimulated by industry's demand of ductile tungsten. In 1909, William D. Coolidge patented his invention to make tungsten flexible at room temperature. The process was pressing tungsten powders, bars, pre-centering them in a hydrogen atmosphere to make them harder, and then centering them with carbon electrodes cooled with water in a hydrogen oven. With a temperature close to that of tungsten's melting point, subsequently the bars were removed, pressed, hammered, and finally could seep to the required diameter. At that time, diamonds were the only material available for the drawing of tungsten. Like several others, Germany was 100% dependent on foreign countries for its diamond dye requirements. The naval suppression during the World War I caused a dangerous decrease of industrial diamond stock in the German industry. Following the Moissan discovery, the hot pressed tungsten carbide dyes were made so to not interrupt the production of tungsten wires. However, for its extreme fragility, tungsten carbide was not the ideal substitute for diamonds. And after the war, K. Schröter from the Osram of Berlin mixed a tungsten carbide and cobalt and produced the first cemented carbide. The product thus obtained was called heart metal. The centering process patented by Schröter in its essence is still the production method of hard metal. The discovery of shortear marked the beginning of a new industry, which subsequently had developed all around the world. Up to the 1950s, the progress of this industry has been relatively slow, and the evolution of cast iron and steel and a better knowledge of refractory materials has encouraged the development of hard material in many industrial fields. The various qualities of hard metal processed have allowed the metal processing to achieve results not reached before the use of traditional materials. Steps in powder metallurgy. The main steps in powder metallurgy component production are the powder production, compaction, sintering, secondary and other finishing operations. Powder production. Now the raw material for powder metallurgy components is the powder. These powders are engineered materials in the sense they are manufactured to precise specifications to facilitate subsequent processing. The powders used in powder metallurgy can be pure elements, elemental blends, or pre-alloyed powders. The choice of starting material is influenced by the product type and to a lesser extent by the fabrication process to be used. Several production methods are available for making powders. Most common method is the atomization, which produces nearly 80% of the total volume of powders. Like stainless steel, super alloy, that is nickel base, as well as non-ferrous metals. This method produces powders of both ferrous and non-ferrous metals. Specialty powders like stainless steel, super alloy, as well as titanium alloy powders are also made by this technique. Reduction of compounds is another widely used technique used for the production of iron. Copper as well as tungsten and molybdenum. Electrolysis is yet another important powder production method used widely for making copper, iron and silver powders. Powders having the desired size range, shape and other characteristics are chosen to obtain the properties required for the end use. Powders along with additives are mixed thoroughly using mixers. Lubricants, which is around 0.5 to 2% by weight of the charge, may be added prior to mixing to facilitate easy ejection of the compact and to minimize the wear of compaction tool. Now the typical lubricants include wax or metallic stearates, graphite. Powders are then tested for properties like size, flow, density and compressibility before being compacted. Powder characterization is very important since powder characteristics influence both the compaction behavior as well as the properties of green and sintered parts. Second, the compaction. Compaction of powder mixtures is generally carried out using dies which are machined to close tolerances. Dies are made typically from die steels or cemented carbides. Equipment used for compaction includes mechanical or hydraulic presses, the latter being more common due to its safe operation and flexibility. Die design is important and must ensure easy ejection of compact. The powder type and its characteristics influence the compaction pressure. The basic purpose of compaction is to reduce or produce a green compact with sufficient strength to withstand further handling operations. The press part, usually called the green compact, is then taken for sintering. Consolidation of powders may also be carried out at higher temperatures. Hot extrusion, hot pressing, and hot isostatic pressing are examples for this category. These methods are used for critical metallic and ceramic components which requires near theoretical density. Sintering. Sintering of the green compact is carried out in a furnace under a controlled atmosphere to bond the particles metallurgically. Sintering is carried out at temperatures about 70% of the absolute melting point of the material. Bonding occurs by diffusion of atoms, giving integrity to the compact. Well, in other words, sintering serves to consolidate the mechanically bonded ponders into a coherent body, having the desired service properties. Shrinkage occurs during sintering, resulting in the densification of the part. Now, this densification enables significant improvements in the physical and mechanical properties of the part. Sintering can be carried out in variety of furnaces. Mesh belt furnace are the most common type and are used up to 1200 degree centigrade. Walking beam and pusher type furnace can be used for still higher temperatures. Batch type furnaces include belt type or box type furnaces. Sintering is normally done under a protective atmosphere. Most commonly used atmosphere includes endothermic and dissociated ammonia. Nitrogen is also widely used because of its lower cost. Liquid phase sintering involves the formation of the liquid phase to enhance sintering kinetics to another type of sintering. This type of sintering requires the presence of a low melting constituent in the compact, with healing being done above the melting point of this constituent. Other variations such as spark sintering, microwave sintering, and laser sintering are also adopted for a specific application. Another important development is the metal injection molding, which has expanded the scope of powder metallurgy products tremendously. Last one is the secondary and other finishing operations. Now, a sintered part may be subjected to one or more secondary or filing operations. Now, these are used to ensure a very close dimensional tolerances, improved surface finish, increased density and corrosion resistance. Typical operations include repressing, grinding, and plating. Sometimes resintering is also done for repressing. Advantages of powder metallurgy process. The major advantages of powder metallurgy process include process, metallurgical, and commercial advantages. Under process advantages, the following important advantages are seen. It eliminates or minimizes the machining. That means there will be little or no scrap. Second, efficient materials utilization, that is about around 95% material utilization can be done. Third one, enables close dimensional tolerance, that means near net shape possible. Fourth, produces good surface finish, also provides option for better heat treatment for increasing strength or enhanced wear resistance, and plating for improving corrosion resistance. Also facilitates manufacture of complex shapes which would be impractical with other metalworking processes. Also suited to moderate to high volume component production requirements. Components can be produced at reduced cost as compared to many other processes. So you can say it is cost effective. Next, the components of hard material which are difficult to machine can be readily manufactured. such as tungsten wires for incandescent bulbs. Next, it is possible to produce components in its pure form, that is, purity of the starting material can be preserved throughout the process, a requirement for many of the critical applications. And apart from that, it is also energy efficient and also environment friendly. Metallurgical advantages: powders with uniform chemical composition with the desired characteristics resulting from the absence of segregation during the solidification. So these characteristics will be reflected in the finished plan. Elemental and pre-alloyed powders, then the unique compositions including non-equilibrium compositions and microstructures. Also wide variety of materials, that is metals and alloys of miscible and immiscible systems, refractory metals like tungsten and molybdenum, ceramics, polymers and composites, and can produce parts with controlled porosity. Commercial advantages: ferrous and non-ferrous powder metallurgy parts can be oil impregnated to function as self-lubricating bearings. Similarly, parts can be resin impregnated to seal interconnected porosity to improve density, or they can be infiltrated with a lower melting point metal for greater strength and shock resistance. Parts can be heat treated and plated if required. Powder metallurgy parts are also amenable to processing by conventional metal forming processes such as rolling and forging. Also, the cost effective production of simple and complex parts very close to final dimensions at production rates that can range from a few hundreds to several thousands parts per hour. Apart from this, it offers a long-term performance reliability in critical applications. Applications of powder metallurgy. Now, powder metallurgy has a wide range of applications ranging from the automotive to the advanced aerospace components. Powder metallurgy components have established themselves as an economic alternative to components made from other manufacturing processes, as well as the only means to produce some components which cannot be made by other methods. The engineering applications of powder metallurgy consist of three groups. First, parts which are impossible to manufacture by other methods, like porous bearings, filters, bimetallic immiscible copper lead alloys for used in bearings, as well as hard and soft magnetic parts. Second, the parts which are difficult to make by other production methods, for example, parts made of tungsten and molybdenum, which cannot be made efficiently by any other process. Third one, the components, where powder metallurgy is an effective alternative to parts made by casting and forging. For example, small gears and connecting rods. Mechanical powder production techniques. The mechanical methods of powder production are of four types. First one is the chopping or cutting. Second is the abrasion method. Under abrasion method, you have rubbing of two surfaces, filing and scratching. The third one is machining methods, and fourth is milling, where you have ball mills and grinding. Chopping or cutting. Now in this process, strands of hard steel wire in diameter as small as 0.03 inches are cut into small pieces by means of a milling cutter. This technique is actually employed in the manufacturing of cut wires, shorts, which are used for peening or short cleaning. The main disadvantage of using this method is it is difficult and costly to make powders. Rubbing or abrasion methods. In this type of method, a mass of metal might be attacked by some form of abrasion. and these some form abrasion methods are rubbing of two surfaces. Now when we rub two surfaces against each other, hard surface removes the material from the surface of the softer material. Filing. Filing is a production method which has been frequently employed, especially to alloy powders, when supplies from conventional sources have been unobtainable. Such methods are also used for manufacture of coarse powders of dental alloys. Filing can also be used to produce finer powder if its teeth are smaller. Scratching. If a hard pen is rubbed on a soft metal, the powder flakes are produced. Scratching is a technique actually used on a large scale for the preparation of coarse magnesium powders. Machining. A machining process using an example, a lathe or a milling cutter, in which something more than just scratching is involved, since the attacking tool actually digs under the surface of the metal and tears it off. In lathe machine, by applying small force, we get fine chips. A larger amount of machining scraps in produce in machining operations. This scrap in the form of chips and turnings can be further reduced in size by grinding. Milling. The basic principle of milling process is the application of impact and shear forces between the two materials, a hard and a soft, which causes the soft material to be ground into a fine particle. The milling techniques are suitable for brittle material. The most popular of milling is ball milling. Ball mills. This contains cylindrical vessel rotating horizontally along the axis. Length of the cylinder is more or less equal to the diameter. The vessel is charged with the grinding medium. During rolling of vessel, the grinding medium and powder particles roll from some height. Now this process grinds the powder materials by impact or collision and attrition. Grinding. To grind a sintered sponge metal from reduction and electrolytic process, a jaw and a hammer crushes are used. Above all, grinding in a jaw crusher is performed between a fixed jaw and a moving one, and it represents the first stage of disintegration, where a coarse powder is obtained. This then subsequently is milled to a final product in some type of a mill. In a hammer grinder, the material is crushed using an impact of hammers attached on a rotor.